Welcome to another episode of Marketing Unzipped, where we break down those complex marketing concepts into practical, actionable insights. I'm Rob Curtis, and today we're diving deep into a topic that's fundamentally reshaping how we connect in this digital world. It's the art of storytelling on social media. You know, it's fascinating how storytelling has just evolved so much, from the cave paintings to the digital stories that disappear after 24 hours. We humans have always found the most innovative ways to share our narratives. But here's what's really interesting about it. While the platforms and the tools have changed just a bit, the core principles of what makes a story compelling hasn't changed at all. So let's start this off with a statistic. Every day, over 500 million people engage with Instagram stories alone. That's 500 million people consuming and creating bite-sized narratives. Why are these stories so captivating? That's what you've got to ask. And the answer lies in our psychology. We're hardwired to seek out and remember stories that we see, read, hear, and feel. We're not just passive consumers, we're active participants in an ever evolving narrative. So let's talk about something that might seem counterintuitive at first. How can content that disappears after 24 hours be valuable for businesses? The funny thing is, it turns out that this temporary nature creates FOMO, the fear of missing out. And we all know what FOMO means. But when you think about it, Burberry, a great example, they use Instagram stories to share behind the scenes glimpses of their fashion show preps. They see engagement rise massively because people are so engaged in what they were delivering. And it creates this sense of urgency. I need to see what's happening. But the real magic is this content allows brands to be more authentic, more experimental, and ultimately just more human. You don't need the same level of polish as a permanent post. This often leads to much better engagement. So if you're thinking about how to craft these engaging 15-second social media stories, here's a little framework. It works across platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, because we know that no one has time for slow, drawn-out stories on socials, right? If you don't hook your audience in those 3 seconds, they're gone. It's even less. It feels less and less and less. So let's take a look at this framework. Firstly, the hook. Your first 3 seconds are everything. If you don't stop the scroll, the rest doesn't matter. So what works? A bold statement. It makes people curious. A relatable moment that they see themselves in. A visual surprise that's impossible to ignore. So I'll run through a coffee brand example, because I do love my coffee. This hook scene, close up of someone's tired, groggy face rubbing their eyes. Text overlay of something like, tired again. And then the scene cuts as they reach out for their coffee, but they knock it over. Surely there's a better way. Is the next bit of text. And boom, instant curiosity. People relate. We've all got to wake up in the mornings thinking, oh dear Lord, I need to get my next step. What do I need? I need my caffeine. And now they want to see what happens next. So then that second step is the build up. We want to set up the problem, make it quick, keep the pace high, and show why this matters. We'll show that struggle, the fumbling to make the coffee, the yawning, the frustration. We build the tension with the fast cuts, exaggerated reactions, and we keep that text short and snappy. So the person spills the coffee on the counter, they miss the cup completely. Close up on their frustrated reactions, text overlays of things like, why does this always happen to me? Countdown timer appears. 5-second fix coming up. People stay hooked because they're waiting for the fix. And then that third step, the payoff. And this is the moment you deliver the solution and make it worth their time. Keep it satisfying, simple, and clear. So now that scene, smooth, slow motion pour of steaming coffee into a cup. The person takes a sip, eyes widen, they smile. From there, we could split the screen. We could show the before, the coffee, the tired, the messy hair getting out of bed. The right side of the screen after the coffee, or above and below, obviously, but awake and smiling, engaged. The text overlays, start fresh every morning. Try our boldest roast today. Swipe up to order. It's clean, it's effective, and it tells the story without wasting a second. And the reason why this works, and it works so well, is it grabs attention instantly. People relate to the struggle. It keeps engagement high, fast cuts and short text. They massively hold focus. And it ends with a clear action, a CTA to drive the next step. Not every piece of content you're going to create is going to have a direct CTA, but have this philosophy of this process to drive entertainment. And the best thing is, this doesn't just work for coffee brands. It works for fitness, SaaS, e-commerce, personal branding, you name it. Having that philosophy throughout whatever content you're creating is going to help. But let's start stepping into a bit more storytelling from a visual perspective and how it's become the cornerstone of our social media narrative. But I want you to think about the last social media story that made you stop scrolling. What was it that caught your attention? A single image can tell a story more effectively than 1,000-word blog post. But the catch is, it needs to be the right image, the right video, presented in the right way at the right time. We all know that imagery, as I mentioned, the stats, there's so much data online to find out about it, of how it will improve engagement tenfold compared to just text-only social content. But what makes that visual story just the most effective? It's not just about creating something pretty, it's about creating something meaningful. And let's think about infographics for a moment. When done well, they transform complex data into compelling, beautiful narratives. So we could take the example of a massive database, the climate change sort of conversation. You can think about all the stats, all the data that go into that and it's presented. When it's in a spreadsheet, it's going to be rubbish, right? You're not going to engage with it as a consumer, seeing this on the news or somewhere like that. But when it's visualized as a striking infographic, it's showing the Earth's temperature changing over time, all of a sudden it becomes a story that resonates. What I find so common with lots of different businesses we work with, they really overthink their visual content, and they believe they need that professional photography or complex design for every post. But some of the most engaging visual stories, they are the simplest. So some of the things I like to think about in those techniques for creating those visuals that make people stop and scroll. First of all, contrast and color. So our brains are naturally drawn to contrast, whether it's through complementary colors or striking light and dark elements. Contrast creates visual interest and it stops the scroll. The human elements. Images featuring faces, particularly those showing emotion, consistently outperform other types of content. And I'm saying images, video, images, it's all the same thing. We're hardwired to connect with those human expressions. And the unexpected elements. So I already mentioned in that kind of 3 steps of creating that short form content, it's about the breaking patterns. I absolutely love how the Dollar Shave Club disrupted their entire industry. Not just by the product, but with completely unexpected, humorous visuals that, let's just say, challenged the traditional grooming advertising. Go and check it out on YouTube, the Dollar Shave Club. I will never do it enough justice in this. But when we think about that process of what they've done and compare it to other content that you would expect to see on a TV ad, it's completely different. It's incredible. And then you've got elements where platforms like Airbnb have used Pinterest. So instead of just simply showing the properties, they create boards that tell stories about experiences and lifestyles. They don't just show a bedroom in Paris. They show the view from the window, the nearby cafe, the local market, painting a complete picture of what it feels like to live like a local. And that to me is absolutely mind-blowing. We would consider this, of course you would do that, but actually when you break down the human thought pattern and how we find that more relatable and more engaging, it's a complete game changer. So I mentioned earlier on about my framework ideas here, but let's take a look at how TikTok has just revolutionized everything. What fascinates me the most, it's forced every brand to think about the traditional good old approach, and they just have to change the narrative. And the key to that success, it lies in those compelling stories in mere seconds. The most successful TikTok creators can tell a complete story in 15 seconds, right? That's incredible when you really consider it. I've talked about those processes around the hooks, hooking that user in for those first 3 seconds. They use music strategically, employ problem solution formatting that we already spoke about, and leveraging trending sounds and formats. And they embrace it creatively. Ryanair, I absolutely love in this process. They transform their brand perception through TikTok by personifying their planes and creating humorous content. They didn't just adapt to their existing market and their marketing approach. They created an entirely new narrative that it resonates just with a younger audience. The younger adults that have spent years going on these flights and seeing their parents' pains and frustrations of badly organized chaos. No dig at Ryanair on that one. Just a general sense of airport runs with family, especially with 2 daughters. I've been through it enough. But the process they've gone through, again, is absolutely brilliant. Go and check it out yourselves. It is such a place to go. I read a stat recently. 88% of TikTok users say sound is essential in their experience. This isn't just about background music, it's about using sound as a storytelling tool. That's the trending sounds, the voiceovers, or even the silence for dramatic effect. Sound design has become just crucial to digital storytelling. I want you to think about those various elements, the visuals, the audio, the narrative, coming together to create truly engaging content. Because in the end, that's what social media storytelling is all about. And that's why it's so powerful. It's about creating experiences that people want to be a part of. So let's explore some truly exciting storytelling and how it's revolutionizing the way we connect with our audiences on social. I saw a brilliant campaign where a brand let their followers vote on their next product launch. What a way to engage your community. The engagement obviously went through the roof, and it got me thinking about the power of our audience and then being active participants in our story. Think about it. When was the last time you took part in an Instagram poll or answered a question in someone's stories? That simple act of participation creates a connection that passive content just can't match. And I've just said then about just connecting with a brand, but just think of a person, somebody, one of your friends, post something on social, on Facebook, great news, sad news, whatever the story is, you'll comment, you'll message. That's the same concept you want to take with your brand. There's a reason why businesses that have interactive, valuable content see so much more engagement because people love being part of the story. Think about Netflix and the Bandersnatch episodes. They created Instagram stories that allowed the followers of their channel to make decisions that affected the narrative, just like in the show itself. It's absolutely brilliant, right? And there's tons of ways that brands can make their own stories more interactive. The polls and quizzes, simple yet effective, absolutely brilliant. They not only engage, but provide valuable insights. But don't just ask rubbish questions. Think about what your audience will really, really resonate with. And then there's things like more creative for the bigger brands, but augmented reality filters. Create multi-layered narratives with swipe up stories to reveal even more of the steps, what's happening next, what's going on. Swipe up to see more. It doesn't just have to be to a landing page to sell to them. Think about the creative elements that go in that process. Because when we invite our audience to participate, we're not just creating content, we're creating memories. Research shows people remember interactive experiences 4 times better than passive content. Of course we are. It's what I call as pub chat. It's coffee talk. It's, if you've seen that thing that such and such is doing, it stands out. It's different. That's what we want to keep pushing for. And that's the powerful stuff that any business trying to make a lasting impression needs to think about. And one of my favorite bits of this entire process is the opportunity for us to all act as an influencer. And I'm not talking about these humongous followings. But in this social media process, authenticity is the key. It's not just a nice to have. You can't just rely on a logo to tell your story. People nowadays can spot inauthentic content from an absolute mile away. And we're seeing this fascinating shift in what performs well. There's perfectly curated feeds. They're being outperformed by raw, unfiltered content. I'm no cook, but I absolutely love watching food get cooked and seeing how gorgeous it looks on its plate. If you haven't followed her and you like that sort of thing, Emily Mariko on TikTok, her simple cooking videos, shot from above, minimal editing, regularly outperform heavily produced content for her. And then we start thinking about, as I mentioned, those influencers without the hundreds of thousands and millions of followers, that micro-influencer mindset. They may have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. They would often generate much higher engagement rates than those mega influencers with millions. And the reason is because they maintain authenticity and genuine connections with their audience. So for me, 3 key principles that you can take away for that authentic storytelling. Transparency. This is a big one. You share both the successes and the failures. Your audience appreciates that honesty. The consistency. Your story should align across all platforms and touch points. And for me, the biggest is the value first. Focus on providing genuine value before asking for anything in return. Just because you've seen me once, you're not going to buy from me. Use this as the space to build relationships with your audience. And we have to consider all of these different elements these days. But we have to remember that at its heart, it's always about human connection. Whether it's through a disappearing story, a viral TikTok, an interactive poll, we're all just trying to connect and share our experiences in the most meaningful ways. Before we wrap up today's episode, I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts on digital storytelling. Have you tried it? What have been your most successful stories today? Share your experience with me, please. We learn so much from our audience on whichever platform you're listening on. I always engage with comments and messages I receive, and I'm really grateful for those. So a massive thank you. But before we go, here's a challenge for you. Over the next week, try implementing just one of the storytelling techniques we've discussed today. Maybe it's creating your first Instagram story series, perhaps experimenting with a TikTok narrative. Whatever you choose, start with one of these ideas and just post it. I used to have so many challenges of myself years ago around what content am I creating? Is this good enough? Is this not? And then this thought came to me, which is, if it's good, loads of people are going to see it. If it's not, people aren't going to engage with it. So it's going to get seen less. So don't worry. Just get it out there. If you found value in what I spoke about today, I have a small favor to ask. Could you send this episode to one friend who you think might benefit from these insights? These strategies could be exactly what they need to transform their social media. If you're not already following Marketing Unzipped, hit the follow button. By growing our community, we can continue to share our insights and help more business owners navigate the ever crazy world of digital marketing. Until next time, I'm Rob Curtis, and this has been Marketing Unzipped. Remember, in the world of digital storytelling, authenticity isn't just a buzzword. It's the foundations of every memorable narrative we create. Keep it real, keep it engaging, and most importantly, keep telling stories that matter.